Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. It is March 6th. I've been up for a couple hours. I should probably still be sleeping, but I got a solid 7. And I'm really trying to keep my sleep schedule on track if I can with my sleep meds so I can feel normal somewhat. Maybe have a nap during the day, but I haven't even gotten dressed yet. So, good morning, happy coffee, or for me, happy prune juice. Stuff's actually good. Wearing my heating pad. They take that much. They take almost 7 liters of fluid off you. Your bones kind of hurt. My legs swelled up again, so I know that ascites is going into my feet and my legs, big time. But I'm trying to get control of that. So we'll see what happens. I think it's just the progression of my cirrhosis, and I will learn how to work through it. And then today I'm going to go through small goals. I'm going to clean out a huge box of clothes and shoes that I have. Get ready to move. I'm excited about that. And I'm going to start my drawings again, but this time with a goal. Our new place, I want to hang my artwork as much as I can. That makes sense. So I'm going to start practicing now. I haven't been able to draw in like 20 years, and I love it. Charcoal, maybe some pastels once in a while, but pencil or charcoal, pencil, black and white. So I'll show those to you as I get through them, and I feel they're worthy enough of showing. But today I wanted to talk about something. Someone, we talked about stressors in life, and it could be either it makes you drink or it doesn't make you drink because you don't drink, but a huge stressor. And in the world of HR, I still to this day get a lot of people that ping me, like on Facebook, for example. I have a question for you. You're in HR, right? So I don't know if that HR world is in my future again, but I've gained a lot of knowledge. And I just want to talk about, I'm going to take up like 15 minutes of your morning, and I want to talk about negotiating money or more compensation. So it's kind of one-on-one real quick. If you have other questions afterwards, certainly ping me and I can try to answer them the best I can. But again, this is just my opinion on things and things I've observed over the years. So I did a lot of business consulting with a lot of work with people who were trying to develop their careers. I've done a lot of strategizing around things like I wouldn't say raising people's salaries because that's not the right way to think about it, but helping them develop the skills and confidence to maximize their economic potential, okay? Their economic potential, and to develop plans around that. So, and one of the things we could zero in on is there might be a interest to people is, for example, negotiating a raise now. You said that you want to collaborate and find a better solution, that you talk with someone, not against, and that reminded me as well of the necessary of developing a joint vision. So let me tell you what I used to do. In practical terms, when I was setting someone up to have a conversation with their boss about advancement, including a raise, sometimes people don't necessarily want a raise. they want opportunity, and they want advancement. And the only way they can conceptualize that is as more money. And so you have to get straight too. But so, I said my principles were something like, it's very difficult to negotiate if you are not in a position to say no, no matter what. Okay, so I would make sure my person I was talking to had their cover letter well prepared, that we had filled in any gaps. They knew the job market around them, and that they were ready and willing to look for another job if necessary. So then they weren't terrified, right? They weren't taking themselves hostage per se. Exactly, because it also, they also meant that they had a better sense of their actual market value, right? Because that's something you actually need to do if you're going to negotiate for advancement or a raise. It's like, well, what evidence you can't get a raise just because you want one? Everybody wants a raise, right? And you have to understand that your manager is dealing with financial constraints and the fact that everyone wants a raise. So you have to make a case, all right? And then you might say you can make a case with a threat, and one threat might be, well, if you don't give me a raise, I'll leave. But generally, all you do is put people's backpack with an approach line like, you may need to have that in your back pocket just to make you confident. But my notion has been when I was dealing with people who either were credible or who had put themselves in a position to be credible, what they would deliver to the boss was, first of all, a statement of their value, okay, and a description of that, because you don't know how much your boss knows about the work you do, especially if you're one of those people who does your work quietly and will sort of invisibly. And that's even worse if you're agreeable so that other people can take advantage of your work and pretend it's theirs. So the first thing you might want to do is make sure that your boss actually knows what you do without being chest thumping, okay, about it. And then you might say what it is that you could offer if you were offered additional opportunity. And that might be, like the observation that if you don't believe that you're making what you're worth in the market, that your motivation is less than it might be, or that you don't feel that you've been valued by the organization. So if you had a pathway forward and you'd be more committed to the joint goal, that you share with your boss, and hopefully you have one relationship you have to make, real relationship you have to make a case for what it is that's in it for him too, also, or her. And also ensure that if he has to go make a case to his supervisor, that he or she's completely armed and ready to do that. So there was so you don't assume that your antagonistic relationship with your boss, and if you are, that's intractable, then you know it might be time to link or think about either a radically new approach to your work or a different job. But if you're not, you assume that you could present him with a solution. So anyways, those are some of the ground rules that I've established. And so I'm kind of curious about how you might elaborate on that and what you think about that. Phone calls. And yeah, I love it. I mean, these are great ideas, okay? It's a great starting point. And, you know, what I might add to the basis of that, any of those conversations, like to the first part about, you know, having a resume, knowing what the market is, not taking yourself high hostage on one of those things that I loved, or you know, but one of the things I loved, I learned from being part of negotiations, is how to negotiate without a net per se, and my coworkers and would call that bat now. What's the best alternative to negotiate an agreement? And that's so that you can release yourself of fears, that you don't take yourself hostage. You can go in with no alternative and have enough faith in the process to just be engaged, okay? To be curious, to listen, okay? To discover the better outcome. And so the bad idea or the alternatives idea is a good starting point if you feel like you're taking yourself hostage. But what it really is it's to create this psychological construct so that you don't freeze up, so that you don't take yourself hostage. And as hostage negotiators, they know we just never we never have had a bat, you know, you gotta make the deal, you gotta work it out, and you kind of gotta get used to it. Walking tight, RPP, without a net, okay, or a no rope, okay, that's what that means. And it's no big deal, but the principle to begin with is how not to take yourself hostage, okay? And that's a brilliant principle to start with, okay? So what does it mean to, here, what are some examples of what it would mean for someone in a practical situation or even a dire situation to take themselves hostage? And maybe a story or two about that, and also some illustration of how you could circumvent that, right? That error. So, well, I don't have a better job. I got to take this job and I'm coming out of it. I did a right after I left a job, to sharpen up my resume and to create some better opportunities. And I only went to Rasmussen School to obtain my bachelor's degree, but there is astonishing. There's other colleges that are more astonishing that they even let you in, right? You're very average blue collar dude from the Midwest, and then afterwards, job market was horrible. Might come out of Harvard, in debt of financial crisis. I mean, no jobs anywhere. And one of my colleagues was a fellow student, and she looked like I'm trying to negotiate for a job, and I gotta take the job. There aren't any jobs out there, and they're going to ask me what I made in my last job. Okay? And it's going to be half of what I need to make now. Okay? And I can't answer that question. What I said, all right, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to go in with some great calibrated questions in my vernacular black swan method. It's not questions to get answers, but questions to create thoughts in the other side's mind. Open their brain up a little bit. You want to get completely out of the concept, the fact that you don't have alternatives doesn't change your value to this company, okay? And the fact that you don't have alternatives does not change anything about their ability to pay you and how much you could contribute if you're right. If you're the right guy that gets dropped into the right job or gal. And so you gotta ask them, what happens if you guys don't fill this? What happens if you don't fill this role? Okay? How can I be most successful for you? And how am I supposed to accept a salary that's half of what I'm worth? These are differential questions. Okay, so let me ask this about that. So one of the things I want from someone that I partner with, and this would include someone I'm hiring as well, okay, say as a peer relationship, I want to know what agreement we can come to that I'm thrilled about, that I know they're going to equally be thrilled about, And there's a technical reason that I want that. I mean, there's two sources of motivation, okay? Fundamentally, there going to be negative emotions like pain and fear, and there's enticement by positive motivation, and that's usually associated with hope in relationship to a goal. And so for the person I just described who's feeling constrained because they only have one option, which is to take the job or leave it, and they think the only option is take it, he still has a question to ask himself, okay, he or she. And this is a really profound question. It requires honesty, and the profound question is, what circumstance do I have to have in place so that I can devote myself wholeheartedly to this job? So how can I exit the interview, right, and accept this new job feeling that I have a landscape of opportunity in front of me, and be fearful of resentment that will require somebody's going to ask themselves that they will require that they prioritize their needs and wants. And salary may be one of those things, but you could imagine that there be other ways of even moving around that, so to speak, because you might be able to offer your new employer the following deal. It's like, well, I'll take a starting salary that's less than I would regard as optimal or even necessary, but I want to know that if I hit a certain set of standards within a certain time, there's a pathway to improve financial returns that opens up to me that we all agree on. And you tell the person you're negotiating with, it's the reason you want that is because, like, we're not playing around here. We're trying to negotiate optimal motivation. And I want to be able to assure you when I leave the motivation or the negotiation that I am thrilled with the outcome. And because who in the hell wants to hire someone who starts the job feeling like they've been taken advantage of and being resentful? Like, that's a really bad way to get things going, okay? So you point, I'm going to point out that that your guy who thought he had to have the job still was in a position to tell his potential employers, okay, what it was that he or she had to offer to make a case for the value of his services, and to point out, like, what that it's not only worth from the market perspective, right, but it also in terms of their own motivation. And there's a fit issue, okay, too. And it's like any other relationship, like personal relationship, you know, business relationship, close relationship, significant other. You got you got to get it fit. And my favorite question actually is to ask in a job interviews, every job interview and every annual review. Talk to me by a friend of mine who's so and so extraordinarily successful. He's a CEO. He's CEO of an international big long financial institution. But we talked about this extensively, and we actually went to school together. And his question was, how can I be guaranteed to be involved in projects that are critical to the strategic future of this organization? And I said before, the collaborated question, it's designed to trigger thought. That question immediately changes their perspective of you when you ask it, like you're telling them, look, I want to advance everybody's life here. I want to play in a big game. I want to be with the people that are at the highest levels of performance in your company. And I want to move everybody forward with that one question. And it completely changes the outcome, because then it's not just what your skill set is for this particular job. Okay, maybe there's a job for you in the mailroom, but you want to be there, the head of the division, okay, and you want to know how to get there, and you want to get there by succeeding and taking everybody with you. Now that's a game changing conversation. That's a completely different conversation. And maybe they thought they were bringing somebody in to push a small cart around, okay? Small cart around, and now you're somebody that says, yeah, not only will I do the little jobs to learn this from the bottom up, but I want to make everybody's life better. I want to help everybody succeed. Now I'm willing to learn. I'm coachable. Now it's different. Now it's a whole different ball game when you say things like that. So I hope these words were insightful. I got to thinking about it generally. I wanted to speak about something because a lot of people do drink because of their job. I get a lot of pings on Facebook everywhere. You're in HR, right? Yes, you know I'm in HR because you've asked me before, but go ahead. So I'm still using my noggin as much as I can from the world of HR. But I'm going to be, hopefully, after I get a liver, be in a position where maybe I can do something differently or do something more with what I've learned. I believe I can, and so can you. So what are your thoughts? Does your job make you drink? Do you think if you were to focus more on that as a goal, right, negotiating a raise 101. Let me know your thoughts, agreements, disagreements. Tell us about your experiences with that, or if you've actually used some of those words and if it's helped. I think it's a great tool for everyone, not just somebody who's not sober, but in real life. It is. You get to be my age, you're in your late 30s, your 40s, late 40s, and you start to think, is this really what I want to do? Is it about money? Is it about being happy? It can be both. It can be what you want it to be, but you need to be realistic. But if you're going to stay where you're at, learn how to negotiate. Thank you, everyone, for listening and subscribing and the prayers. I'm going to make it through this. I keep telling myself, even on my worst days where I feel like death, and that I feel the prayers. So prayers work in numbers. I do appreciate and love all of you guys for that. You have no idea. Have a wonderful weekend.